everybody. It's a Wednesday. That means only one thing. It's time now for Supernatural News and Parashare. We're going to put Parashare on hold for a week until Melly comes back. Of course, we've given the ladies the week off because it is Mother's Day, and both ladies are mothers, so we decided to give them a week off, let them rest. We had Wayne D in yesterday. Today, I have a special co-host. You've seen him before. I always screw up the name of his organization, so we're going to bring him in and let him do the work, of course, because he's a co-host. He's also a brother and a friend. Ladies and gentlemen, we bring in yet again, because we've had requests for him to bring him back in. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Travis Thorpe. Travis, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, Tim. And I'm sorry to report to everybody, I am no longer with the ACTJ.
Oh, okay. Well, then I won't say it.
Well, we shut the show down. We all decided to take a break for a while. So,
I'm sorry.
We have discontinued the show.
All right.
Womp, womp, womp.
Well, then don't listen to it then. Fine. then just listen to Travis on this show. So
yes.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here then.
Thank you so much for bringing me back again. So
yeah. Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. And boy, oh boy, are you well, I know as far as the World Wide Web goes, we're not necessarily breaking news, but you're breaking news here today. I know that much. You've got a story for us here today that you just about smacked me upside the head with today. And because as I was doing my searching of my news sources, it's nowhere to be found. But we've been talking about it for the last day or so. And of course, it's all over TikTok. So you're gonna, and you sent me a picture of this thing, and I'll be showing our viewers on video the picture of this thing, and we'll get to it here in a second. We got to get to the other interstellar news, which is what we're starting off with today. We're gonna just jump right into it, Trav, because here's the deal. It's boy, we've got so much stuff today. It's ridiculous. We'll start it off with an ex-NASA official who claims to have seen a flying saucer with the U.S. Air Force logo on it. Let's just jump deep into it, shall we?
Absolutely. I'm excited.
Yeah. Retired flight surgeon maintains that he saw a secretive saucer-shaped vehicle belonging to the U.S. Air Force. Dr. Gregory Rogers, a former NASA chief flight surgeon and Air Force major, has spoken out about something he had witnessed back in 1992 at Cape Canaveral, Florida. At the time, he had been conducting an inspection when he was approached by an Air Force major who invited him to come and see something that he claimed would knock his socks off. That's in quotes. Rogers was then taken into a room where he was shown a CCTV feed of something extraordinary. A saucer-shaped vehicle with the U.S. Air Force logo clearly emblazoned upon it.
It's not so surprising.
No? You're not surprised by that?
No, because the aerospace industry, like whether you're talking Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, I mean, they have a lot of different proving grounds and a lot of different vehicles that they end up making. And the government tries it out for a bit. And usually it's kept very hush-hush and secret for about a decade until there's a slow reveal of it. We saw that with the stealth bomber. We saw that with the stealth fighter. We saw that with the F-22 Raptor, so on and so forth. It's not so surprising, but it's probably a program that they ended up either keeping behind the veil and or was unsuccessful.
See, this just backs my point of something I've been saying for years, and people have been like, "Oh, Tim, come on," which is a lot of what you see in the skies are man-made.
Yeah.
Rogers was then taken to a room where he was. I said that already. He says, I would estimate it was about 20 feet wide, probably about 8 to 10 feet tall, and it had a shallow dome on top of it. He recalls there were no antennas. There was no flight control surfaces, according to him. Everything was very smooth and blended. I saw no rivets, no seams, nothing. Everything was white, but there was a vertical black rectangle at the 3 o'clock, the 6 o'clock, and the 9 o'clock positions of the upper half of the vehicle.
Interesting.
Yeah. Without
Do you think he was speculating it to be like a porthole? Something to look through?
Maybe. I think probably. Yeah, that would be, well, let's see, vertical black rectangle, 3, 6, and 9 o'clock. Yeah, that probably the upper half of the vehicle. Yeah, that probably would have been the place to look out of. Yeah.
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 Okay.
Without warning, he said the object began to move. All of a sudden, it just lifted up as smooth as could be, according to Rogers. Once it got up, maybe about 3 feet above the concrete surface, it rotated completely around clockwise 1 revolution. Then it revolved counterclockwise 1 revolution. Amazed by what he had witnessed, he turned to the Air Force major for an explanation. "We got it from them," the major replied, pointing up to the sky.
Interesting. Now, and what, I mean, if we're playing with the imagination here, and the inference from that major, could it be like, like with my 18-year-old boy, hey, here's the old Nissan. Yep. Where some kind of partnership with some other celestial neighbor is like, yeah, here you go, kid. Here's the old Nissan. And they just retrofitted it and put some portholes in and slapped a U.S. Air Force insignia on the side of it. Possible.
Could be possible, right? Rogers never saw the craft again, and to this day he remains adamant that what he saw was genuine. Now, it could be like you said. It could have just been handed down and they put a nice little logo on the side and they're flying it around. Or it could be that they've got the ingredients, the mix, and they're home cooking at home, and they've been building it for a generation or two.
Yeah. Either way, I mean, it's still impressive, right? And that's the downside to a lot of these special access programs or anything that's in a SAP or a CAP is that, if you come out with your story, the plausible deniability is so far across the board that you just look crazy when you end up talking about it anyway.
Right. Right. Yeah. And here's the thing. I mean, we had Ellie Marzulli on last week, and he's full in on the explanation that we've had this agreement with them, pointing up like Sabu, rest in peace, Sabu, that we've had this explanation since the time of Eisenhower, that we entered into this agreement, that we've been getting this technology from them, but them ain't so nice, right? That them has a double agenda. And that them is actually not necessarily a kind race, but they could be potentially a demonic race at that. So he's got the agenda of, well, they're not necessarily a true extraterrestrial race, but an interdimensional race, and that they don't really travel to the outward reaches of space, but they've given us toys to play with in exchange for creating a hybrid demonic race. So we had that perspective last week.
Interesting.
Yeah. So take it for what it's worth. We got that perspective last week. I don't know where you weigh in as far as that goes, Travis.
I mean, for me, I do believe that there is probably a different dimensional category to a lot of this. I would believe that there is most likely some kind of extra dimensional component. Necessarily labeling it a demonic or demon type thing, I think is a pretty easy cop out for people that have their own personal biases through their lens. Right.
Sure.
And I think that's a struggle that we have as humans, is we have our own personal experiences, our own upbringing, our own religious backgrounds, and we want to look at everything through our understanding. Right. And it's hard for a lot of people to step outside of their own ego or their own upbringing and just look at the facts and circumstances of it. So I've talked with you many times on the show too about like my opinions about what is a demon, right? And there is I would say more of like a religious version of it versus like what is a true form of it. And the true form of it in etymology is something that is unnatural and unbalanced.
Mm-hmm.
But if your God created it and God was perfect and God made it, then it's natural. So therefore, by definition, it could not be a demon, So I don't agree with just labeling everything that is unknown or scary a demon. I feel that an easy cop out and just not intellectually stimulating.
Okay. There you go. All right, let's tackle this next story. I find this now originally when you told me about this other story that you're going to give us some details on, I thought this was the story that you were talking about. So I was like, wait a minute, did Luis Elizondo already shoot this down? Turns out he didn't. I'm going to show you a picture here. My low tech way of showing you this picture. This was one of the UFOs that Luis Elizondo has already shot down this week on Capitol Hill. Although it's pretty easy to shoot down when you see the picture. You look at it and go, well, wait a minute, this has been circulating online. And you say, well, I think I can shoot that down, right? It looks like a giant biscuit floating over a city.
Right.
Right. So at first you see it and you go, well, that looks like, and this is a kind of the original image, which there's a Google Maps comparison. So I'll show you the Google Maps comparison. This is the Google Maps comparison, which got shot down pretty easily. Right. So I'll read the story now and then give you the rest of the story as to what exactly we're looking at. Okay? Because Luis Elizondo said, well, there's a reason why this 1,000-foot UFO is what it's called, can be shot down pretty easily. And it was at the UAP hearing that took place last week. At that recent congressional hearing that we're talking about on Capitol Hill, Luis Elizondo presented a photograph of an alleged 1,000-foot UFO. Now, last week's Understanding UAP hearing, which featured talks by several prominent scientists, UFO researchers, and intelligence community personnel, was aimed at briefing members of Congress about the UFO phenomena and its implications. During the event, Luis Elizondo, who was once a director of the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or AATIP, presented a photograph showing what he alleged to be a huge UFO measuring some 1,000 feet across that had been captured on camera by a commercial airline pilot. It had been reportedly snapped from an altitude of around 21,000 feet over the Four Corners landmark, which joins parts of New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, and Colorado. Captured near Four Corners at FL20, estimated at 600 to 1,000 feet in diameter, silver-hued, disc-shaped, the UAP Disclosure Fund wrote in a post on Twitter or X. While at a glance the image looked quite convincing, it didn't take internet sleuths long to determine that the photograph doesn't actually show a large hovering disk at all. Instead, the disk and its shadow are in fact two circular fields situated next to one another. You can even find the exact spot on Google Maps, which I just showed you, the exact spot. The original image would have been taken from a different altitude or angle, but this is the exact same location. After news of the debunk reached Elizondo, he was quick to argue in a post on Twitter and X that he hadn't made a mistake, but also argued that the image hadn't been vetted before he had revealed it. The purpose of me showing the photo was to illustrate the need of civilian and commercial pilots to have a central reporting mechanism to report potential anomalous sightings, he wrote. In this case, the pilot who took the photo using his own camera did not have a way to report what he believed was anomalous. Again, we showed you the Google Maps photo to give you a perspective of what's in Google Maps and what was shot from that particular perspective of the pilot. So with that in mind, do you still debunk it and say it was an error, or was that truly a UFO that pilot saw?
Well, I suppose I would have some questions about that, though, because the story is that a pilot is in transit, observes it, pulls out a camera, snaps a freeze frame photo of it.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
And then the Google Maps is obviously not real time of the moment when the pilot was coming through, though.
I'll show it to you again.
Is that correct?
Yep. Here's the photo that the pilot shot.
Right.
Okay. And I'll show you the image from Google Maps. Here's the image. Let me see if I can shrink this down here, because I want to give you the accurate representation from Google Maps. Here's the representation from Google Maps. Now, to you, does that look the same? That doesn't look the same to me.
No, it does not. I mean, it's what is that circular pattern to the north there, right above the pin? I mean, is that a giant crop circle? I mean, what is that?
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
Because, I mean, that may be, the whole classic crop circle thing after something was there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would really call that debunked. If they're showing a Google Map image of the area, obviously after the thing was observed, I don't think the thing's going to hang around there waiting for a satellite image to capture it, or some Google car going by to go catch it on
Right.
Google Maps as well.
Now, see, when you zoom in on the pilot's photo, if you zoom in ultra tight like that still to me does not look like the Google Maps photo. It's a different shade.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing though, too, is if that is a crop circle type thing, right? Where it's just flattened prairie grass or flattened corn stalks. It could be that because the altitude that he was at, the sun reflecting on it and shining it, giving that metallic appearance.
Yeah.
So it could just be, an optical illusion.
Right.
That gave a view of a silver craft there. But then when looking through the, high resolution, satellite imagery, it reveals that it looks more like a crop circle.
Right.
And so it's nothing more than like an oasis, illusion of seeing the reflection of the sun off of it from his altitude. I could see that as a very honest mistake.
The spacing is the same between the two circles in both photos. That's where I can see where you would say it's debunked, because the spacing between the two circles is the exact same. So you would say, okay, nope, it's debunked. And you're right. If the sun is shining at a certain angle on the top circle as you're looking at it, you would say, nope, that's not it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that as an honest mistake of somebody observing something as an illusion, right? Snapping the photo, and then, actually clear image shows that that's just a bunch of flattened grass. that is reflecting light.
Right.
I wouldn't really blame the pilot, because I mean, if I was flying over that and saw something shining bright, like, what is that? I would have snapped a picture of it too.
Sure.
I would have probably been pretty excited.
Sure. Yeah. Same here. I would have went, what the, and taken a picture. And keep in mind, you're supposed to be flying an airplane, right? Or supposed to be paying attention. You've got lives at stake, right? So yeah, take the picture and move on and try not to crash the plane. That's my main goals for the day, right?
Wow.
Yeah, not focus on the UFO and down the plane. So yeah, I get where you would just take the picture and then report it later. So there's that. Okay, so you brought to my attention the story that's been all over TikTok. I go to look online for this story. I'm not necessarily finding it. It's not being reported by mainstream media. Mainly, I think because mainstream media can't vet certain sources, so it hasn't been reported. But you've found different details about this thing. Now, I'm going to hold up the picture that you sent me so that people can see this thing. because it's absolutely intriguing and fascinating. Take a look at this, folks, if you're watching on video. That is astounding. Look at how ornate this metallic ball is. I'm not going to call it an orb because people's assholes pucker when they hear the word orb. Let's just put it that way. That is something to behold right there. And if you just see the writing that's on this orb, I said orb, didn't I? God, my asshole just
You
puckered.
did.
Yeah. But on this particular sphere, we'll call it a sphere. And so go ahead and give us the particulars on this thing, because I'm going to zoom in on the writing on this thing, because you mentioned some stuff about this.
So I just thumbing through the good old tiki-talkies, having a leisurely smoke, I come across a random video talking about this thing called the Booga orb or the Booga sphere. If you search those words, you will find thousands of videos that have been coming out about this. So it was found in Colombia. It is named after the region and or city of Booga in Colombia, where this orb, everybody's puckering, or sphere was captured. Now, what's cool is you can actually see a lot of videos of this thing in motion, because it caused a lot of commotion in the area. People started videotaping it. And unlike 99% of every paranormal video ever caught out there, it's not grainy and it's not in poor resolution. It's actually captured in some pretty good video. And so this thing is flying, zipping around. It's slowing down. It's making weird maneuvers. It was really interesting to watch its flight pattern. Mm-hmm. Now, allegedly, this thing then struck a high power line and it disabled it. It was struck with about 10,000 volts. Now, I watched approximately 40 videos on it this morning.
Wow.
To be prepared for it today. And so the claim is that it was struck with about 10,000 volts and it disabled it. And it came to a slow descent down, not necessarily crashing. It was almost like a controlled descent, which is also interesting. When they first retrieved it, they said it was freezing to the touch. It was super cold to the touch. Mm-hmm. Now, when you look at any of the videos of this and photos of this sphere, it is about the size of like a medicine ball that you would use for working out, or for those that never touched a weight, like a pregnant woman's belly at full term. Okay. This thing is pretty sizable.
You can see someone's hand right next to it to give size ratio to it right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when they first retrieved it, it was rumored to come in at an estimated 4 pounds. Now, they ended up bringing it to a private research lab because the Colombian government wanted to take possession of it. And the guy was like, no, I'm not letting you take possession of this because we'll never see it again. So he takes it to a private research lab. They weighed it at the lab and it came in at 22 pounds.
Whoa.
Instead of 4. And so it like changed its mass. And so they decided to start hitting it with all sorts of equipment. They wanted to get as many readings off of this thing as they could. They've x-rayed this thing now like over 100 times. And what they're seeing is that it has 3 different layers of mass to it. And so like the outside layer, there's almost like a middle layer and then a core layer. And each layer has different mass and different temperatures. They also, in the discovery of the x-rays, they're saying that there's some kind of computer chip, which is interesting because of the iconography on the face of this. But they're saying there's also like 32 microchips around it. And so it has like some kind of technology in there as well. So they also exposed it to fire and blow torches, trying to see if it would heat up. It does not react to heat. It is not conductive to heat, and they will hold a blowtorch to it for about 20 minutes, let it off and touch it, and still freezing cold to the touch. They said that when it comes into contact with water, and this is another interesting thing, they'll take pitchers of water and pour it over it, and it instantly evaporates the water on touch. And then they'll immediately touch it with the bare hand. And again, it's cold to the touch. And they describe it to having a temperature similar to a refrigerator. So then the other notes I took here, the object is now in Mexico because there was threats. There was offers of large amounts of money. Even Vladimir Putin from Russia offered to take possession of this. And so they wanted to get it out of the country before this thing disappears. So they moved it to Mexico. Okay. So the Mexican, I'm not sure if it's the Mexican government or if it's a private entity in Mexico, but it is now located in Mexico. They have possession of the object there. It's still undergoing further study in Mexico. And I mentioned earlier that it was found March 2nd of 2025.
Yep.
In May of 2025, so this month, they have attempted further research, discovering that the outer surface is porous like human bone, and that the strange markings in ornate display on what could be considered the face of the object has been rumored to be littered with ancient human written languages from multiple civilizations mixed with unknown symbols that some speculate might be alien in origin. Many researchers have ran the image through different AI platforms in an attempt for the translation. And what I discovered there's a lot of different translations, but the most common one that keeps surfacing is this translation. We have been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty.
And you can see it right here. Look at it. It's everything I've ever got from Car Shield in the mail. It's right there. See? Yeah.
So exactly as long as your listeners have recovered from that, I will give you the actual translation that has come up.
Okay.
The origin of birth through union and energy in the cycle of transformation, meeting point of unity, expansion, and consciousness, individual consciousness. And that is what AI has been consistently pumping out when fed this image. It's pretty interesting. Now, I sat there thinking about this a lot this morning, and I'm just chain smoking, going, okay, what could this thing be? Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. We could play the game of extra dimensional. We could play the game of UFO. We could play the game of Project Bluebeam. But my witch gut, my brain, my inner Alex Jones says, I think we need to talk to Timothy Hogan about this. I think it comes from the ocean.
The ocean, really?
I sat and thought about all the videos I was watching and all this information that I was collecting on this thing. So I didn't come in here, just spouting a sentence and be like, this was cool.
Yeah.
The thing was disabled by 10,000 volts.
Right.
From a power line.
Right.
How much radiation and how much electrical pulses is it going to run into going through space? Anything from the Van Allen, I always call the Van Halen.
Yeah. Van Halen belts. Yeah. Well, Eddie had a lot going through his stack. I know that. Yeah.
To coronal mass ejections. I mean, what is the probability that it's just going to be absolutely plastered by radiation, plasma, electrical pulses? I'm not a physicist. I'm not even an electrician. I can barely even change a power outlet. So what do I know? But my brain says there is probably way more powerful electro and magnetic forces out there that would disable this thing in comparison to a high voltage power line, which to me says that maybe its origin isn't from there.
Yeah.
Now, couple that with the fact of how it reacts to water and how it instantly repels water. The water instantly vaporizes on contact. It has this porous outside. And now add in these alleged ancient human written languages on there. I think My witch gut says, and my nipples are getting a little hard saying this, Atlantis.
Yeah.
The old stories of Atlantis and the whole Dagon theory of like this civilization coming from the water, this advanced civilization coming from the thresholds of the water and teaching all these ancient cultures the rules of society and how to build society. There might be a connection to an ancient Atlantean society with this Booga orb. And that's where my brain goes.
To me, you're right. This almost screams an Atlantean type design. Even if you look at the top of it, it has that, you've got the triangles in there, the almost squiggly lines that could look like water.
How many reports has the government and or others talked about all these UFOs popping out of the water and out of the ocean and all these orbs coming out of the water? Weird. I think it's pretty obvious that this thing didn't come from outer space, but came from our own ocean. And that's my belief on that.
I think you're onto something there. Yeah. Yeah, this very much looks like it could. You're right. I think you're onto something there. I think that very much could be a submersible. Yeah.
So what do the listeners think? Please comment, share, subscribe. Is this Atlantis, ancient aliens, or is this a demonic force?
We'll hit you with our next video and let you know next time. Yeah.
But that's what I got for my notes on that, Timmy.
Wow. Well, that's you're blowing my mind today. I'll let you know that. We still got plenty of program to go.
Yay!
We should get to our next story then. It's pretty much downhill from there. So yeah, not that you should turn the program off, but no, we have plenty of stuff.
Way to sell it, Timmy.
Yeah, I know. A way to sell that, huh? No, we have plenty to go. In fact, our next story has to do with a Soviet satellite that's going to crash down to Earth, but nobody knows exactly where. So if you got your catcher's mitt on, you can, and you have pretty good eye, you might be able to catch it. Only problem is it's older than most of you out there listening. So you're going to have a really good eye and a strong arm to catch this thing.
Is it going to be one of those with like a dead monkey or a dead dog floating around?
Oh, no. Poor chimp. Probably, yes. A 53-year-old Soviet satellite is expected to fall back down to Earth sometime within the next few days. So, maybe not have that outdoor picnic. Just saying, it could be a bummer. Something large will be falling from the sky between, it already happened. So if you didn't get it, I'm looking at the story and it's clear. All clear. So if you didn't have anything fall in your backyard, you're good. It should have happened before May 12th, it says here, but nobody is quite exactly sure when it will happen or when it will come down. So I haven't heard of anything falling yet. Have you?
No, it probably landed in Booga.
Yeah, probably this thing right here. Yeah. Say hello to your Maybe Soviet satellite. There it is. The defunct Soviet satellite, which is called Cosmos 482, had originally been designed to fly to Venus. Ultimately, however, it failed to escape low Earth orbit and has been stuck there ever since. Now, 53 years later, it's expected to come crashing back down to terra firma, but there is some concern over the fact that nobody is quite sure exactly where it will land. Oh, that's a bummer. It could still be on the way, though. I haven't heard of anything crashing and falling anywhere. Have you?
Yeah. Meanwhile, one of your listeners is sitting in the ICU with a crushed femur going, yeah, thanks for the warning, Tim.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, asshole. It's also unclear whether it will break apart or crash to Earth in one large piece. Again, the person in the ICU is thanking me profusely. As this is a lander that was designed to survive passage through the Venus atmosphere, it is possible that it will survive re-entry through the Earth's atmosphere intact and impact intact. Boy, that's a Dr. Seuss line if I've ever heard it.
Wow. So they were going to send this through Venus or just as a lander on Venus?
It was supposed to be a lander on Venus.
Holy cow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's built sturdy. Yeah.
Oh man. I bet a collision like that would probably be pretty comparable to like a small meteor.
Yeah. Yeah, it's supposed to hit. Like hit.
Oh, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I hope it doesn't hit anywhere near India or Pakistan, because then that could cause the ceasefire to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, especially anywhere in the world that's volatile right now, right? I mean, imagine it landing in the middle of the Middle East. Yeah. That would get stuff stirred up real quick.
Oh, yeah. All of a sudden you think it's an enemy nation state, but it's nothing more than Sputnik 40 coming down.
Yeah. As things stand, the projected landing area for the probe stretches both above and below the equator and includes parts of Europe, the UK, and most of the US.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, we're pretty safe up north up here, you know.
Yeah, nothing never happens up here. Yeah. Boy, if she landed right here in Minnesota, we wouldn't even notice. Yeah. You'd probably think it was a car backfiring.
Yeah. Some poor bear out there just walking in the woods.
Wham! That said, the odds of the satellite crashing into a populated area are still extremely remote, it says. So it probably would, if a satellite crashes in the woods, does a woodsman even hear it type scenario?
Extremely remote. Yeah. I don't know, man. The world's pretty populated.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of people on Earth. I think someone's gonna run into it. New evidence of elusive Planet 9 has been discovered by astronomers. Tantalizing new evidence of this mysterious world has been found courtesy of 2 deep infrared surveys. I gotta imagine the surveyors were pretty obnoxious. So, do you exist? Do you exist? Do you exist?
Tell me how you feel.
Yeah. Is it cold out there? Do you need a blankie?
If we told you that you existed for 40 years and then tell all the kids after that you're really not a planet, would that hurt your feelings?
Are you sensitive? Is it sensitive out there? Nobody knows exactly where it is, how big it is. Oh, you don't want to ask that question. Or even if it exists at all. But when researchers at the California Institute of Technology revealed in 2016 that the existence of a 9th planet in our solar system was a very real possibility, the hunt for this enigmatic new world began in earnest. Believed to be up to 10 times the mass of Earth and with an orbital period of up to 20,000 years, Planet 9, if it exists, will be situated somewhere beyond the orbit of Neptune. Finding it, however, is like looking for a tiny fraction of a needle in a very big haystack. Now, though, a new study headed up by astronomer Terry Long Fan of the National Tsinghua University in Taiwan has identified that it could be the strongest evidence yet of its existence. The findings concern 2 infrared surveys, one by the Infrared Astronomy Satellite, or IRAS, in 1983, and another by the Japanese Space Agency's Akari spacecraft in 2006. Fan's team has been looking for objects that had changed positions between the 2 surveys and ultimately spotted one particular object that seemed to have moved in the intervening time by an amount consistent with predictions about the potential orbit of Planet 9. While the finding is not enough on its own to extrapolate the object's full orbit, it does offer a tantalizing glimpse at what could actually be a whole new undiscovered planet in our solar system. Fan told Space.com, once we know the position of the candidate, a longer exposure with the current large optical telescopes can detect it. If this object really is Planet 9, then it would need to be more massive than Neptune, Ultimately, without further data, it's currently impossible to know for sure if it really is the elusive undiscovered planet or not. My whole thing is, if it's 20 times bigger than Earth, how are you not running into it?
Who's to say we haven't? So, Tim, this is why I say college education is garbage. Okay. All right. First off, if you're an astronomer, it should be mandatory that you go through ancient mystery school traditions and actually maybe even take some classes in anthropology, right? Because this isn't new news, Tim. This isn't new news at all. It's clickbait. You know why? Because it's Nibiru. Okay, they have been talking about this since ancient Mesopotamia. This was written down in the first written language where they had said that this planet exists, and it comes. Oh, imagine that every 20 to 50,000 years and comes into our solar system. This is where the Anunnaki came from and the whole origin story of man. And, you know, they would say that every time it comes through, they basically kill us all. So we're all screwed.
So we really don't want to be looking for this thing.
Yeah, maybe not. But it's funny because they had called it Planet X before, about 8 years ago.
Yep.
Now they're calling it Planet 9. No, these researchers are just trying to get their PhD. That's what it is.
Someone's trying to write a paper and get published.
We've known about this for 10,000 years.
Stop stepping on my touchdown call.
These astronomers are a joke.
Well, you know, science is just trying to reproduce what other people have already done.
Yeah, there's so much crossover, Tim. And that's where I joke about it, but I really think they should have their feet in both worlds. They should get into anthropology and start looking at what all of our ancient brethren, going all the way back to the dawn of man, have said. And then when, all of a sudden Galileo comes around, we're like, oh, yeah, it does match what they said 10,000 years ago. The Earth isn't flat and floating on the back of a turtle. Weird. It is this solar system.
Floating on the back of a turtle.
But when we have Galileo confirming what thousands of years before written on stone tablets said, and they still didn't listen to them going, yeah, there's this extra planet. And here we are in 2025 going, oh, yeah, these guys that were so dumb scratching into stone 10,000 years ago said that this planet existed. Maybe we should listen.
Good point. Science kind of started to catch up with the whole heaven concept or afterlife concept when they brought in quantum mechanics like 10 years ago. So, I mean, there's...
Yep.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe Haley Bopp got it wrong. They were just off by like 20 years. And... the real ride is coming soon.
There you go. Let's move on. There's a UFO festival in Oregon, which marks the 75th anniversary of an infamous case. The town of McMinnville will be filmed with the festival goers on May 17th in celebration. That's this coming weekend in celebration of a notorious UFO case. At 7:30 p.m. on May 11th of 1950, Evelyn Trent had been walking to her farmhouse near McMinnville, Oregon, when she reported seeing a metallic disc moving slowly across the sky. She called for her husband, Paul Trent, to come outside to see what he thought it could be. Keen to take a photograph, he returned to the house briefly to fetch his camera. He managed to take 2 shots before the metallic disc sped up and disappeared toward the west. The following month, the 2 photographs alongside the headline, "At Long Last, Authentic Photographs of Flying Saucer," appeared in the local McMinnville telephone register. The images would go on to become 2 of the most heavily debated pieces of UFO evidence ever captured, with UFO investigators, scientists, and photography experts all weighing in on their authenticity. While many believe that the couple had captured something unusual, others were more skeptical, instead insisting that the photographers, or rather not the photographers, but the photographs had been faked. One popular theory is that the flying saucer was in fact the wing mirror from a vehicle that had been suspended with fishing line from the overhead cables to make it look like it was floating in the air. Whatever the case, 50 years later, the town of McMinnville began to celebrate the incident by holding an annual UFO festival that continues to this day, with this year marking its 75th anniversary. As usual, the town will play host to various festivities, including guest speakers, fancy dress, the screening of a new documentary covering the incident, and much more besides. So there you go, 75th anniversary of that incident, and it sounds like a decent time.
Could you imagine like actually being that alien in that ship and you're just in transit, right? You're just like in the middle of a long road trip, right? You're just passing by Earth and it's nothing more than like a tumbleweed that went by on an 8-hour road trip that you're doing, right?
Yep.
But then all these people are like, oh, look at that minivan that just went by. And now they're holding a like 40-year-long festival in honor of your minivan passing by, hoping that they'll catch a glimpse of you again on a road trip that you'll probably never come through there again.
But you just so happen to go back 40 years later because you're nostalgic for it. And then there you are and there they are. And
yeah,
wouldn't it be weird? It'd be like going to Becker, Minnesota for like the turtle races or something. And you wanted to see it one more time.
I just got to see it again. There were those aliens were just on their way to go see their in-law. just
It's like, holy shit, they're still doing turtle races. Yeah.
Oh,
kind of fun. Our next story has to do with a famous musician and the fact that he once wrote song lyrics about a UFO that he'd seen in New York. We're, of course, talking about John Lennon. The late Beatle had a memorable close encounter from his New York apartment window back in 1974. The incident, which occurred during his 18-month relationship with an assistant and production coordinator, May Pang, took place on August 23rd of that year, after Lennon had arrived home from working in the studio. Exactly what happened next was later recalled by Pang in a 2020 interview with New York classic rock station Q104.3 when she described how Lennon had suddenly noticed flashing lights outside their apartment. When she looked out, she observed a strange object with flashing white lights along with one edge and red lights on the other. It was moving silently and had ventured remarkably close to their location. No sound. I could see the underbelly of this object, she said. You know, when it's hot and you see those heat waves, I could see clear as day right underneath. It just cleared the buildings next to us, maybe 2 to 3 stories over us, she went on to say. I always said that if Reggie Jackson hit a home run, he could hit this thing. I guess that's how close it was. But she and Lennon maintained that they had seen something remarkable that day. It went down the river, turned right at the United Nations, turned left, and then down the river, Lennon had told a reporter at the time. It wasn't a helicopter, and it wasn't a balloon. It was so near, and it was silent, and it looked dark, like black or gray in the middle, and it had white lights. It just looked like light bulbs, and going off and on and off and on, off on, blink, 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 round the bottom, and on top was a red light. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the sighting inspired some of the lyrics in one of Lennon's later songs, Nobody Told Me, which references UFOs in New York City. He also wrote a reference to the event on the inner sleeve of his album, Walls and Bridges. So there you go.
Well, obviously very important to him then.
Yeah.
And what he didn't realize is at the time they were actually just starting the production and filming of Contact with the Third Kind was and it was nothing more than a prop. No.
Of Close Encounter?
Yeah.
which he lived through. I mean, he lived to 1980. So I wonder, you know, you always wonder when it comes to things like that, when it comes to you know, if people would have lived just a little bit longer, what John Lennon would have thought of, you know, the whole scenario of today of the government digging into disclosure and what he would, you know, because you look at like
he'd be front and center, right in those congressional hearings, using his star power, going like, I saw this in New York, and I mean, if he cared enough to put it into song lyrics, slip it into the album cover, you know, like if he cared that deeply, you can guarantee he'd be using star power and getting into those congressional hearings. You would hope, although, you know, there's
there's a part of me that thinks that maybe he would have got to the point that McCartney's at right now, where, McCartney just wants to make his music and kind of just do his own thing. And McCartney doesn't really seek out a huge spotlight. It seeks out him, right? And he's kind of this elder statesman. I feel
like it would actually be more like the Blink-182 guy. Because we have a contemporary to look at right now that, God, I don't know what he did in the band. I don't know if he was the singer, drummer, or whatever. But over the last several years, this guy has been front and center about UAP disclosure. He even claimed to be working with ATIP or, because they wanted somebody with star power, right?
Yep.
I would imagine that we have a contemporary of him to look at right now as an example.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Maybe you're right. I think maybe you're right that he would, he'd just say, okay, yeah, I'm going to lead this thing. And John Lennon was that type of guy where, especially when he was younger, where he would say, you know what, we're going to lead this front and center, and we're going to be the guy to maybe he would have spearheaded this whole movement and tried to get the information out of the government. Maybe.
I just wish they would have picked somebody better, like Insane Clown Posse.
I keep running into this video online. You just reminded me that kid who's I always run into that video of that kid online who's like, this is for all the juggalos and the juggalettes. I'm going to run into this refrigerator. Woot, woot. And then he goes, F this shit. And then he runs into it and then I run into that video all the time. I don't know what it is. That it's just me. Is it just me?
Yes, it's just you.
It's just me. It's like social media is just punishing me.
I would imagine, because best kept secret in the world, I used to be a juggalo. Once upon a time, I used to dub myself a horrorcore rapper, but they
You're not going to spit any bars for us, or
not anything radio friendly?
Okay.
But they had a thing called Juggalo Championship Wrestling.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it was all like this backyard wrestling stuff.
Yeah.
I would imagine, because you're such a wrestling fan, that the algorithm is throwing you juggalos trying to do their own little audition JCW things, and that's probably why you've come across it so much.
I wish it would stop. I don't want to see this kid run into a refrigerator.
Tim, you need to actually get that tattooed on your body. That's what you need to do. That is fate telling you that this is part of your life now.
Oh, God, it's horrible. It's just horrible. Anyways. All right. So to tease, we're going to go to break. To tease the rest of the show, here's the deal. Yesterday on the show, we had an author on who said she got on a tangent, was talking about AI hallucinations. She's talking about how AI is actually getting worse, not better. Interestingly enough, there's a story out there about how AI hallucinations are getting worse, and they're here to stay. We're going to talk about it today.
Wow.
She wasn't just going on a tangent. It's out there that AI is getting worse. That's coming up after the break. I have a story about how, the other thing that's fascinated me, Travis, is that with near-death experiences, I've always wondered, it's always been love and light. People who have near-death experiences are like, love and light and everything's great and I'm changed and now I have to change the earth. What happens when you have a near-death experience and you don't necessarily change the earth? You go back to your janitor job. How do you perform your janitor job once your life has been changed, right? What type of careers get radically changed after you've had a near-death experience? And how do you deal with your career, your everyday career, once you've had this life-changing experience? So we're going to talk about that today. How do you go back to a janitor job once you've had a near-death experience?
I'm excited.
So that's one of the stories we'll talk about today. there's findings of a major new study into the nature of consciousness. We'll talk about that as well. The Large Hadron Collider has actually turned lead into gold for a fraction of a second. We'll talk about that as well today. A little bit of alchemy going on up there in Sweden.
They have found the Philosopher's Stone.
They have. And our little bit of a palate cleanser today will also tell you about how Mountain Dew is predicting deadly U.S. disasters. That's right.
I hope it doesn't come in the form of a Baja Blast.
Oh, it's the devil's drink. It knows all. So we'll tell you about that as we wrap up our program today. Supernatural news, we're putting Parashare on hold this week. We'll get back to it next week. And the ladies are on vacation because it's Mother's Day week. So we've given them the week off. So Travis Thorpe is with us today. And we will be back in just a moment as we talk AI, near-death experiences, a little bit of the Alchemist's Stone, and much, much more right here on Supernatural News on Wednesday on Darkness Radio. Welcome back to the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. I'm Tim Dennis. Right over there is Travis Thorpe. This is what we call Supernatural News and Parashare, although we're putting Parashare on hold this week. Mally Fox, Jessica Freeberg, they're on vacation, of course, because it's Mother's Day week. We'll call it Mother's Day week, of course. They deserve the break, so we gave them a break. They're both mothers, and they deserve to have a little time to themselves. We didn't buy them spa packages or anything. We just gave them time off. We didn't pamper them in any other way other than just to say, take the weekend.
We'll have to buy them a crumble cookie and make it up.
There you go. Yes. Oh, crumble cookies are so good, aren't they?
Yeah. It's diabetes in a box.
That's right. It is. It's type 2 in a box. Oh. And now that we've mentioned them, they have to give us a sponsorship or at least free product. We'll take the free
product. All things mentioned by Travis Thorpe does not reflect on Darkness Radio.
No, it should. It should.
Oh, yes, it does reflect on Darkness Radio.
Yes. So crumble cookie, please. We'll give you an address where you can ship those crumble cookies later. By gosh. Oh, before we get moving here, I do want to thank you all who are watching, who are listening. This past week, we passed 5 million accrued downloads in the 3.5 years that we've been with Audio Boom. So I want to thank each and every one of you, our Darkness Radio family, who have tuned in, who have downloaded Darkness Radio in the last 3.5 years. It's a huge accomplishment. Has nothing to do with any of us idiots here. It has everything to do with you, who is interested in the topics that we present and the shows that we put together, and investing your hard-earned time. And we know that that basically you have busy lives, that you enjoy everything that we do here, and we appreciate you. We love you for investing your time, your hard-earned time, and being with us. So again, we thank you and love you and appreciate you, and you can drop us a line at any time. Drop me a line, tim@darknessradio.com. And if you have stories for us, tim@darknessradio.com, for whether it be for True Crime Tuesday, for Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. If you have a Parashare story for us, you can drop it there. Again, if you have an audio story for us, you can go to darknessradioshow.com. Drop it when you click that little blue button on the right-hand side of the website. Again, we appreciate the contact. We appreciate you weighing in, whether it's a review of the show, whatever it is. Again, also video. We want you to like and subscribe to our video channel on YouTube. It's the original Darkness Radio. That's growing by the day. We appreciate that as well. Just the fact that everything as far as Darkness Radio goes is growing. We're changing by the day. We love the growth. We love the change. We love you guys. And I can't tell you how much I'm grateful to you guys. The attitude of gratitude is huge here. And my heart is full. So I want to thank each and every one of you for continuing to support us. That's the one thing I wanted to get out today. So I couldn't tell you, Travis, how happy I was when I saw that big number when I was tooling around on Sunday. I was just on Sundays I kind of look at the topics of what's doing well and what people want to, what they want to see, what they want to hear. So I was just kind of looking at where I wanted to book for the upcoming months. And then I saw that number and I went, whoa, I was like, hey. So
maybe we can get your subscribers on YouTube up to 5 million here soon too. And as an incentive, we'll maybe put it down in the chat or something. But, if you get to 5 million subscribers on Darkness Radio on YouTube, mm-hmm. I will do a live ghost hunt with you at your choosing, wherever you want to do it. And I will either show up not in a bikini or in a bikini and do that with you as an incentive for your listeners.
I like it.
To get you to 5 million. So if they're like, no, we do not want to see Sasquatch walking around in a bikini, then that will be the reward. I won't do it in a bikini if we get you to 5 million. Or if they say, we definitely want to see it, I'll do that as well. So let's get them to 5 million.
On YouTube. Yeah, that's right.
On YouTube.
So like and subscribe over there at the YouTube page, the original Darkness Radio. If you want to see Travis in a bikini or if you don't, either way, hey, we're not picky. So there you go. With that, either way, it's going to make me happy. And if I say the word happy, that means we hear this music. And it's time now for our AI news. Because once you say the word happy, it makes the AI listen, and then they just fire off the Terminator theme. See how it works, Travis? Works every single week.
Every week.
They don't like the word happy. AI is going to crush us under heel eventually. I'm convinced.
The robots will take over.
Robots will take over. I can't tell you how many people have told me this week, you're right, Tim. You're right. You've been calling it for years. You're right. AI is going to crush us underfoot. I'm like, see? Told you. By the way, and the reason they're telling me this is there's this, the second story in our AI news today is about a video that's spreading like wildfire. And I've gotten this video from, I don't know if gotten's a word, but I keep using it lately. It's not a word. I've got this video from about 17 people this week. We'll talk about it here in just a moment. But first, Caitlin Rother went on a tangent this week on True Crime Tuesday about AI hallucinations and how they're getting worse and that they're here to stay. And there's an article in New Scientist magazine that says that an AI leaderboard suggests the newest reasoning models used in chatbots are producing less accurate results because of higher hallucination rates. And experts say the problem is much bigger than what we expect. So in other words, Travis, don't use it.
So break this down for me. What are they categorizing in AI hallucination?
So in other words, you go to use ChatGPT for a paper, or you go to use it for a law briefing, or you go to use it for something important. And you say, hey, tell me the history of the adventures of Huckleberry Finn. And it spins the story off to Huckleberry Finn ran a candy store in Michigan. And it gives you this entire hallucination that's nothing close to the truth. And of course, you turn your paper in, you say, here's the story of Huck Finn. And the teacher goes, well, you fail miserably because Huckleberry Finn never ran a candy store in Michigan. And you're like, but I know he did. And he says, well, did you read the book? Well, of course I read the book. Well, then you know Huckleberry Finn never ran a candy store in Michigan. But that's impossible. I did my research. Really, where'd you do your research? And then, of course, now they have a way to scan the paper to see if if you used ChatGPT or OpenAI. And then they tell you, well, we know you used OpenAI. one, because that never happened, and two, you used OpenAI and it lied miserably.
Wild.
Yeah, and there's been these wild cases of lawyers preparing briefs using OpenAI and ChatGPT, trying to
how lazy.
Yes, and trying to grab cases from the past and use it. And this is how they're doing their research. Rather than cracking a law book and grabbing these cases, they just go to ChatGPT and say, well, what cases relate to this? And then ChatGPT will grab all these false cases. And they'll try to bring this up in court. And the judge will go, this doesn't make any sense. You can't.
Could you imagine paying $480 an hour to your attorney for them to do absolutely no background, no work on your case until like the day before, and just coming in with Huckleberry Finn ran a candy store?
Yeah. So that's essentially what's going on. AI chatbots from tech companies such as OpenAI and Google have been getting so-called reasoning upgrades for the past months, ideally to make them better at giving us answers that we can trust. But recent testing suggests that sometimes they're doing worse than previous models. The errors made by chatbots, known as hallucinations, have been a problem from the start, and it is becoming clear that we may never get rid of them. Hallucination is a blanket term for certain kinds of mistakes made by the large language models, or LLMs, that power systems like OpenAI's ChatGPT or Google's Gemini may make. It is best known as a description of the way that they sometimes present false information as true, but it can also refer to an AI-generated answer that is factually accurate, but not actually relevant to the question it was asked. So it can give you real information, but to a different question.
That is interesting.
So it could say you could say, like, what color is Diana Ross's hair, and they could say red and green. That's not a real hair color, but it could be somebody's hair color, but it's not hers.
That is pretty wild. I was actually like contemplating the other day to utilize AI in just a boring, I'm bored, I want to sit here and stimulate my mind fashion. I had talked with a few peers that use these AI assistants, and one who I was connecting somebody else for another show. Mm-hmm. And she was showing us that she uses these AI assistants when trying to come up with a show concept idea. And the thing was incredibly impressive. And I sat there and I went, I wonder if I could get like 3 of these things and get them all up going at the same time and have them program themselves to adopt different philosophers from time. Like have one programmed as Socrates and another one as, Benjamin Franklin, and another one as, I don't know, George W. Bush, or the great prophet, holy be his name, Alex Jones. And, and then just pontificate different questions to them and just see how they all argue these different points.
They have that program. I have it on my phone.
Do they?
Yeah, I have it on my phone. They do it for pay. So you can talk to anybody from history. The only problem is it's historically inaccurate. And you'll say, well, did you have any children? And they'll say, yeah. And they'll give you the names of their children. Then you'll ask them again, what were your names of your children? And they'll give you a completely different set of children. It's totally inaccurate.
So it's nothing more than a magic 8-ball.
Yeah, it's a magic 8-ball. Right. That's
will my client win this case?
Right. So again, it's a hallucination. It keeps coming up with hallucinations. It can't stay on track. Because one of the historical figures in this program was my 18th great grandfather, my Bernard de Tremblay from the Knights Templar. So I wanted to try this program, and we had talked about this program. It came out a couple of years ago, and so we reported it on the news. So I downloaded it, and I wanted to try it. I wanted to talk to my 18th great grandfather, right?
Yeah,
or 17th. I'm sorry, 17th great grandfather. So I brought it up, and I decided to have a conversation with him. Nothing was accurate.
Nothing. Not a thing.
Not a thing.
Wild.
Not a thing.
I remember when I was a police officer way back in the time machine, there was an officer on our department that was training me that was obsessed with zombies, and everything was like risk assessment, threat assessment in the he's always like, don't get within bite distance rather than saying 6-foot reactionary cap, right? Everything was coded zombies. But we had another officer on the PD where it was robots. He was terrified of robots. And he was like, you two are stupid for being so damn concerned about zombies all the damn time. It's going to be the fucking robots.
It is. It's going to be the robots. He's right. He's right. We'll talk about that in a second. That's right. We'll talk about why in a second. So the problem, by the way, isn't just OpenAI. We'll talk about here in a second. There's an OpenAI technical report that evaluates its latest LLMs that showed that its O3 and O4 mini models, which were released in April, had significantly higher hallucination rates than the company's previous O1 model that came out in late 2024. So it's getting worse. For example, when summarizing publicly available facts about people, O3 hallucinated 33% of the time, when O4 mini did so 48% of the time. In comparison, O1 had a hallucination rate of 16%. It's getting worse.
So AI has Alzheimer's or dementia.
It just makes shit up. The problem isn't limited to OpenAI. One popular leaderboard from the company Vectara that assesses hallucination rates indicates that some reasoning models, including the DeepSeek R1 model from developer DeepSeek, saw double-digit rises in hallucination rates compared to previous models from the developers. This type of model goes through multiple steps to demonstrate a line of reasoning before responding. OpenAI says the reasoning process isn't to blame. Hallucinations are not inherently more prevalent in reasoning models, though we are actively working to reduce the higher rates of hallucination that we saw in O3 and O4 mini, says an OpenAI spokesperson. We'll continue our research on hallucinations across all models to improve accuracy and reliability. Yeah, but the problem is it keeps happening. And you're not doing much to improve it. You're saying how great this product is, but you're not correcting the problem. And here's the problem, Travis, is now the Defense Department is running their machines on it. And they're doing war games with it. And they're allowing these machines to assess critical risk. So they're saying, you know what? And lethal risk. So they're saying you make lethal decisions. The thing's wrong 33 to 48% of the time.
Well, that may be true, but so are humans.
But are they wrong that often?
Oh, yes. I don't have the rose-colored glasses that a lot of people in the world do. There is a lot of war crimes that have happened in every conflict ever. Right. There is a lot of critical mistakes, tactical mistakes that are made all the time through war. Right. The human element is extremely wrong all the time. We joke about military intelligence being an oxymoron for a reason. Right. Mm-hmm. Because the human error factor is pretty damn high. How many times do they go, oh, yeah, that's a weapons depot for sure. All of our intelligence points to that. And it turns out it's a kindergarten. Yeah, the human component fails a lot. And so I would argue that the human error is probably a lot higher than that 33% that the AI is doing. I mean, probably one of the most impressive things that I had heard is when the Defense Department started integrating AI on these tactical fighters. Mm-hmm. And they were running these war games, and they said, hey, we got all these control mechanisms in place. You're not allowed to attack this thing and achieve your objective until we give you the order. So what did it do? It turned around and started taking out all the relay stations so that the command couldn't get to it because it wanted to achieve the mission. And so then it started attacking its own controllers, right? Like, it's obviously very tactfully efficient. And that's scary.
Yeah.
That takes us closer to Terminator in Judgment Day.
Yeah, it does.
than anything. But I would argue that our failure rate is a lot higher because, obviously we even allowed it to exist, which is, again, a mark against our failure.
Well, speaking of attacking its own, here comes our next story. And you tell me. There's a video out there that I got about 17 times this week from 17 different people. This is our story of the week. A video shows a moment where a humanoid robot goes ballistic and attacks a worker. And it's a spastic one at that. This robot is kind of hanging from a wire at a factory. And this viral CCTV footage shows the moment that a factory robot suddenly freaks out and starts flailing around madly. In fact, it kind of looks like it's starting to punch. Humanoid robots will undoubtedly become commonplace in the not-too-distant future, especially given the recent advances we've seen in artificial intelligence and robotics. Not everyone, however, is too thrilled with the idea of sharing the world with these walking automatons. In this recent viral clip, which shows CCTV footage recorded at a factory in China, demonstrates why. It shows two men working to activate a humanoid robot hanging next to them when all of a sudden the contraption completely freaks out and starts flailing its arms wildly all over the place. The man can be seen struggling to get the machine back under control as it continues its epic tantrum. News outlets have since reported that this is a Unitree H1 robot, a type of full-size bipedal humanoid robot capable of walking around untethered and completing various tasks so it can work on its own when it's not punching you the F out. There you go. It's not clear what exactly went wrong with this particular unit, but the robot's antics haven't helped to ease concerns about what it might be like to live and work alongside such machines. Now, I will post this in the description of this program so you can watch the video, but I'm going to try and see if I can bring this video up here for Travis so you can see exactly what this thing is doing. It's got some sound to it, so you'll hear it in the background as I play it for Travis. Are you seeing it flailing yet?
It is now starting to flail.
Okay.
Holy crap.
Yeah. See that? Isn't that something?
Wow. And it's like, it's even tracking the guy's movement too.
Yeah. See? Yeah, it's responding.
Yeah, they got to name that thing the Black Mamba.
Right. It went after him. So
that was pretty aggressive.
And these things, it's not. These things came off the line, I want to say 6 months to a year ago, and they're cheap to produce, so they're getting them out quickly. And I don't know that they've had a lot of actual testing before they got them out. So when they got them out, I think they thought, well, we'll just, we'll test them as we get them out on the floor. And if we have any issues with them, well, they're pretty lightweight, so we can deal with them ourselves, right? They're not going to overpower us because they're lightweight.
I got an idea, Tim. It just occurred to me. And so for copyright purposes, this is now being recorded. This is Tim Dennis and Travis Thorpe's idea for all the billions of dollars this is going to make. We need a mashup. We need a team. Mm-hmm. Dana White, Michael Vick. Hear me out. We replace all of the illegal dog fighting and chicken fighting and everything else out there and get a bunch of these robots and just sponsor them from different companies and put them in there and just watch them just tear into each other. It'd be way better than BattleBots ever was. I
think that's what they should do with all the robot dogs that they're producing right now. Robot dog fights.
Yeah. It's completely humanitarian.
Yeah. Let them go. Why not? All the robot dog bomb dogs that they're giving to police departments, right? Let them go.
Could you imagine how great that old show BattleBots would be if we started using bipedal bots with chainsaws and
let them go at each other? Yeah, Boston Dynamics they could sponsor it. They would have a field day with it. Yeah.
The championship gets a free scholarship to MIT.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be wonderful. But then we'd be barbaric, I'm sure.
Oh, man.
I'm telling you. All right, let's move on. We'll move off the AI thing. Okay, so I had teased earlier that, when people have near-death experiences, everything is love and light. They come back and they're going to change the world. I've had this huge experience, Travis. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to go on talk shows. I'm going to tell people that there's more to this life.
What are you, a Navy SEAL?
No, well, actually, I work at Subway. And how do you change people when it's Subway Eat Fresh, right? When you go back to Subway, how do you change people through sandwich art, right? I mean, how do you do this and still have had your near-death experience? You can't tell each individual person who comes in for a sandwich about what it's like on the other side, or can you?
Maybe while it's toasting.
You could. You could, right? Well, here's the situation. There's been a new study out there that, can't believe I'm saying this, the corporate hamster wheel loses its appeal pretty quickly when you've temporarily left your body. And how do you even begin to explain that status report and quarterly targets suddenly seem absurdly trivial once you've had this out-of-body experience? That it's not quite important anymore. A new study from Canadian researchers revealed that near-death experiences transform not just how people view mortality, but how they approach their 9-to-5s. The research published in the Journal of Management, Spirituality, and Religion found that after brushing against death, employees frequently reprioritize their professional lives. Many shift away from pursuing money, status, and career advancement towards seeking meaningful work and authentic relationships with colleagues and clients. So, as we know, we kind of know what already happens with an NDE. But they're deeply personal experiences that some people report after almost losing their lives. The experiences can include sensations like floating above one's body, you get the tunnel, you get encountering spiritual beings and feeling a profound sense of unity and love. Now, through interviews with working adults who have experienced NDEs, the researchers identified profound changes in how these individuals approach their work lives. Many participants reported that traditional career achievements and financial success plummeted in importance following their close call with death. So it's not like they went in and demanded a raise. That wasn't the first thing that they thought about. For many NDE survivors, the transformation was dramatic. Many quit their jobs in search of more meaningful work. As one participant described, they chose to pursue entrepreneurship rather than corporate advancement, focusing on spiritual fulfillment rather than ego gratification. Others crafted their existing jobs to align with their new values, developed heightened empathy for colleagues and customers, or incorporated unusual abilities they believed that they developed after their near-death experience. One participant explained how they suddenly gained the ability to intuitively sense injuries and accident victims, including details like seatbelt injuries, whiplash, broken bones, and head trauma. The researchers interviewed 14 working adults, 9 women and 5 men, with an average age of 52 who had experienced NDEs, an average of 18 years prior. Their occupations spanned diverse fields, including farming, marketing, entrepreneurship, waiting tables, law, office work, and teaching. Through detailed analysis of these conversations, the researchers identified 6 major themes: insights and new realizations, personal transformations, reprioritization of work, job changes, motivation, and change relationships. Most participants reported profound spiritual insights following their NDEs. They weren't just abstract philosophical ideas, but deeply felt revelations that reshaped their identities and approaches to life and work. Common realizations include beliefs that consciousness continues after death, that there exists a collective oneness among all people, and that life has an underlying purpose. One participant explained how this affected their workplace perspective, describing a new understanding that workplace connections transcend superficial differences like political affiliation, race, or color, and enforcing their belief in collective unity. Now, I find this interesting, Travis, right? Because what's the number one thing that disrupts the workplace?
Usually it's some kind of drama, either involving sex, politics, or, ego, right?
Right.
So like promotions.
Right. Yeah. It's individual belief that causes disharmony in the workplace. So someone who's had an NDE doesn't think of the individual. They think about other individuals, and they become more harmonious. So they start thinking about the collective. So they actually become a better employee.
It's interesting because it's the first part of the hour, we discussed that weird orb sphere that had a message, and it's weird how it all ties in because they used AI to read it.
Right, yeah.
And it talks about consciousness and pretty much getting rid of that ego through individual consciousness and that cycle of transformation. Weird how that all just went full orb, full circle.
Oh, no, my asshole just puckered. See it? It's a callback. See what I did? It's a callback. Participants describe becoming more confident, more spiritually attuned, and sometimes developing unusual abilities. One participant expressed gratitude for their experience, noting that without it, they wouldn't have become the new person that they now are. Nearly all individuals reported dramatically prioritizing their work lives. Traditional measures of success like titles, salaries, and status plummeted in importance. As one participant explained, before the near-death experience, it was about boats and big houses and Range Rovers and trips and shopping. That doesn't really matter anymore. Instead, they've shifted to purpose-driven work. Their motivation patterns shifted dramatically among participants. Many lost interest in traditional work goals and became more highly motivated to pursue activities aligned with their newfound values. One participant described seeking environments where they could do important work, refusing to waste time on unimportant matters because they now considered time precious. In some workplaces, employee motivation is driven by extrinsic incentives such as bonuses, promotions, or external recognition. However, after the NDEs, participants reported being driven by their own internal benchmarks or purpose. As one participant explained, the motivation was there, came from very strange, deep places that I wanted to all of a sudden make a huge impact, like in every part of my life. Instead of being driven by external rewards, participants were motivated by personal growth and making a positive difference. All reported no longer being motivated by things such as money or receiving recognition for work. They just wanted to make a difference.
It makes sense. I mean, like even within like my own experience, right? Like I had spent time as a combat infantryman, right? I had 330 combat missions in Iraq, was a police officer, private security, right? Like did a lot of very dangerous things. And what did that lead me to do? But put that on the shelf and become a priest and a Freemason and join all these different organizations that were about making the world a better place, helping people, being more empathic. It clicks, it registers to me, it makes sense, right? Yeah. You have a traumatic experience and you realize, the things that I thought were important really aren't. And let's try to make this world a better place. So what can I do with my time while I'm here? That makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. So essentially, that's the gist of the story. Meaningful work over status, nurturing workplace relationships, and finding purpose beyond paychecks. The workers engaged in meaningful work eventually manifesting greater productivity and accomplishment as opposed to burnout as a result of overwork. It's kind of an interesting story.
Yeah, no, I completely connect with that.
Yeah, it's so essentially, are you getting burnout at work? Have a near-death experience?
Yeah, just choke on a French fry or something. You'll be okay.
Yeah, you'll be all right. Yeah, just go.
Little autoerotic asphyxiation. Whatever.
Yeah,
whatever flips your boat.
It doesn't kill you. I mean, it may, but you may come back from it. There you go. It's a horrible way to look at it, but there you go. Okay, so I found this story online for our next story, which, every once in a while, there's these creepy stories about people who move into a home and they find out there's more to their home than they thought. Like they find secret passageways and whole different.
I want desperately for every home that I buy to be one of those.
Yeah. So this woman finds a locked door inside her 200-year-old home. And what she finds is shocking. Okay. So let me get to this story because this is bizarre. Internet users. On the edge of your seat. What's that? You're on the edge of your seat. Okay. Internet users have been left in shock at what this woman has found behind a locked door inside her home. She relocated to Montpellier, France, France 2 years ago. Victoria Vale, or Vicky Vale, so evidently she's dating Batman, moved into an archaic home that she estimates to be around 200 years old. With it being so historic, it's sure to have a few surprises, right? So Vale was left stunned by a recent discovery that she made earlier this month. Vale is a DJ and producer and noticed a draft coming from behind a locked door under a stairwell that she'd never managed to open before. Prior to last week, she'd never given it much thought. But after ripping the door open, she told Newsweek she felt shocked, scared, and also curious. The door opened to a stone staircase leading to a network of underground tunnels and rooms. I'm going to show you. Yeah, right. I'm going to show you a picture of some of these. Tell me you wouldn't get a little bit freaked out if you saw this after you open the door.
Oh, no, I would not be freaked out. I'd be a kid in a candy shop.
Yeah.
That is a wet dream to me.
You're just running down those tunnels.
Oh, man, I want that so bad. I want that so bad.
So she opens that up and takes a look down and goes, ooh. There was a locked door that I'd never opened, and I assumed it was storage, Vale said. She's originally from Canada. I felt a draft coming from it, and it seemed like it hadn't been opened in a very long time. I have no idea what they were used for, but it could have been anything from an older boiler room, a storage, a bomb shelter, or a coal room. Possibilities there are endless, she continued. Until recently, Vale had no idea what was underneath her home. But now she's uncovered a whole new space to explore. Are you ready for this? It gets creepier, Travis. She believes that most houses in the area may have something similar, whether they're aware of those tunnels or not. After locating the tunnels and underground rooms, there was only one thing Vale contemplated doing down there. She was going to film a DJ set for her YouTube channel. I'm not going to give you the YouTube channel, by the way. She loved the dark vibes and forgotten energy and thought it would make a special backdrop for a new video. Yeah. She says, I'm unsure if it's safe down there. So for now, that one music video will be the only time I go down there until I can verify it's structurally safe and also not filled with toxic substances like asbestos. But the video turned out great, so I consider that a win. Now, what did she find down there? You ready for this? This is where it gets creepy. They also say, well, she's yet to find out how structurally sound the tunnels are. Vale joked that her kitchen floor hasn't caved in yet, so it must be somewhat safe. The whole thing is stone, so it's not going to cave in. One good thing that came of this new discovery, however, is that Vale feels as though her house just got bigger. She received an overwhelming number of responses asking her about the hidden tunnels and how she found it. As a result, Vale shared a post on Reddit with several pictures of the underground space that she uncovered. Alongside the post, she explained that some of the rooms and tunnels appear to have power. Is she paying for that power, though? Others, Travis, have flowing water. Perhaps the most unnerving was the discovery of many stained blankets, which she suggests could be blood.
Interesting.
Why are there bloody blankets underneath her house?
Well, how old was that blood?
That's a good question. The post has gone viral with over 10 million views and 18,000 votes on Reddit since it was shared on April 13th. The online reaction is beyond anything that Vale expected. She's been completely blown away by the countless responses. The reaction has been mostly positive, and a lot of people are flocking to the video to check it out. Many people were also referencing the horror movie Barbarian, as supposedly the basement resembles almost identically to it, which is a little wild.
Interesting.
Yeah. I tell you what, I'll post this as well. So if you want to go check the photos out, If you want to go check her individual pages out, you can.
Yeah, because I'd almost wonder. I mean, it's not like France has been a stranger to warfare, you know?
Yeah, and it could. You're right. It could have been a shelter. It could have been a shelter from the war. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you think about it, they have been known to immediately throw up white flags and run away.
Oh, so come on! I have French heritage. Come on.
And so the safety and shelter of underneath is always a place where human beings go.
They were also part of the resistance and the Nazi the underground. And come on. Now.
And so if you had a vast network of tunnels connecting to all the homes within the region or the area, I could see it as a community project or a government project of creating these bomb shelters, essentially, for people to have an escape route from their home into these shelters, which would then give precedence to the electricity and the water being there.
Right.
Now, the nefariousness of Bloody Sheets would indicate she's not the first one that discovered these long forgotten tunnels.
Right.
And people may have been using it for nefarious means.
Right.
Yeah.
I would even go so far as to say, let's look as not even as far back, but as far back as World War II. And think of it this way. The Nazis did go into France. You can look at it as maybe these tunnels were used to try to get Jews to escape. And maybe these were underground tunnels where Jews were trying to get away.
Yeah. My brain immediately goes for air raids because that was a big thing during World War II.
Very true.
I mean, London, man, did they get hammered.
Yeah.
They got hammered by air raids.
That's the obvious one, air raids. The other one would be an underground tunnel where people could escape. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's we're on the same page here.
Yeah, I love that though. I pray for a day that I buy a home and there's a secret tunnel and I just get to go open it up and then I'm audibly doing it, not just in my head, doing the whole secret tunnel while I'm going through the mountain, secret tunnel. I am going to be a kid in a candy shop. I love it.
Well, you never know. Maybe there's one right behind you. With that, let's go on to our next story. Findings of a major new study into the nature of consciousness has been revealed. Two competing theories of consciousness were pitted against one another as a part of a major multi-year research effort. The research, which was conducted courtesy of the Allen Institute, sought to gain new insight into the nature of consciousness with an emphasis of two competing theories. One of these, integrated information theory, suggests that consciousness arises when information inside the brain is highly connected and unified. The other, global neuronal workspace theory, suggests that consciousness arises from information being brought to the forefront of our minds by a network of different brain areas. The findings of the study, which began in 2019, revealed some interesting insights. Research showed that there's functional connection between neurons in early visual areas of the brain, the areas of process vision, which are at the back of the brain, and the frontal areas of the brain help us understand how our perceptions are tied to our thoughts. The findings de-emphasize the importance of the prefrontal cortex into consciousness, suggesting that while it's important for reasoning and planning, consciousness itself may be linked to a sensory processing and perception. In other words, intelligence is about doing, while consciousness is about being. Ultimately, however, either of the two competing theories could either be confirmed nor ruled out. So there you go.
Say that 10 times fast.
I tried and I hurt myself while doing it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in other brain news, scientists explore a brain glitch that is the exact opposite of deja vu. Ready for this one? If you've ever had the feeling that something you are experiencing is new or alien, even when it shouldn't be, this is what you're experiencing. Most of us will be familiar with the sensation of having lived a particular moment before, which is that phenomenon known as deja vu. But there's another lesser known variation of this known as jamais vu or jamais vu. that can occur when you get the sense that something that should be familiar to you suddenly feels alien or unknown. Have you ever had that feeling, Travis?
I thought they called that dementia.
No.
But now it's jamais vu.
Jamais vu. Yeah, jamais vu. It is French. Jamais vu.
Ooh, Tim, say it again. My hairs are standing up on end.
Jamais vu, my friend.
Oh.
An example of this once happened to psychology professor Dr. Akira O'Connor of the University of St. Andrews in Scotland, who has since been working to understand how the phenomena arises. He had been driving along when all of a sudden he got an overwhelming sense of jamais vu, and had to pull over to remind himself to use the steering wheel and pedals. I've never had to do that.
Are you sure he wasn't suffering a stroke?
See that? Yeah. I think jamais vu is short for stroke in French. Yeah. Yeah. He and his colleagues have since determined that the strange sensation can happen when something you are doing, such as driving, becomes so automatic that your brain suddenly snaps you out of that automation and requires you to consciously think about it again.
I'm praying my wife does not watch this episode because I'm about to just tell on myself right now. Next time I'm doing dishes and I just don't feel like doing it, I'm just going to stand there and like drop something and she'll be like, what's going on? Jamais vu.
Jamais vu. Jamais vu, s'il vous plaît.
Jamais vu.
Jamais vu, s'il vous plaît. Jamais vu.
Jamais vu.
Totally go French on the bit. Jamais vu, s'il vous plaît. Jamais vu. It should be like, what? Sorry.
Stroke.
The researchers found that they could reproduce the phenomena on demand. Keep that in mind, Travis, by asking volunteers to repeatedly write down the same word over and over again.
So Bart Simpson?
Yes, Bart Simpson has jamais vu. Around 70% of those participating ended up having to stop at least once due to jamais vu. I believe jamais vu played for the New Orleans Saints. He played quarterback at one time.
Didn't Christina Aguilera and a bunch of other people have a song about it too?
I think that was Dionne Warwick. It was the follow-up to Deja Vu. It was jamais vu. Jamais vu. Those who experienced it described it as being as though the word had suddenly lost all meaning. So you write it, you keep writing it, and it loses me. I think I've had this once or twice. I've experienced it. I can say I've honestly experienced it.
I don't know. I feel like it's like, is that maybe like a pretext to daydreaming?
Well, here's another thing you can do. So verbally repeat a word over and over again until it loses its meaning. The feeling of unreality is, in fact, a reality check. Yeah. So if you say,
I feel like this requires more study.
So carbuncle, 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 carbuncle. Isn't this ridiculous?
Yeah, and it lost all of its meaning to me. I'm flabbergasted.
People are like,
Jimmy Jam Vu.
Jamais vu, Jimmy Jam Vu.
Jimmy Vu.
Jimmy Jammy Vu. People are like, what the fuck's a carbuncle? It makes sense for this that this has to happen. Our cognitive systems must stay flexible, it says, allowing us to direct our attention to wherever it is needed rather than getting lost in repetitive tasks for too long. That's why you end up getting jamais vu.
Wow. I'm going to tell my grandpa that he did not suffer from 40 strokes, that it was just jamais vu.
It was jamais
and then he'll
vu.
be better.
You didn't have 40 strokes, Grandpa. You just had 40 jamais vu.
And then he'll say, what's jamais vu?
He's like,
and then,
did you go Cajun, son? What's jamais vu?
It's just going to lose all of its meaning. We're going to say jamais vu so much.
Will you get in there and make me some of that there Cajun stew, boy?
What do you want on your toast? Some jamais vu.
I'm going to make me some jambalaya with a side of jamais vu.
Right next to the Moulin Rouge.
Right next to the Moulin Rouge. We gonna dice it up today, boy.
Oh, it's awesome.
Our next story is going to have Star Wars fans geeked.
Yes.
You ready? Star Wars speeder bikes from Return of the Jedi are now a real thing.
I saw it.
Did you see it?
Yep.
Yep. Poland-based firm Volanaut has invented a remarkable new hover bike that doesn't use propellers to stay in the air. If you've ever wished you could careen through the forest of Endor on a hovering speeder bike like in Return of the Jedi, you may soon get a chance to do this for real, at least on Earth. Polish firm Volanaut has developed a brand new type of vehicle, which is a hovering bike that, unlike most flying vehicle concepts these days, doesn't rely on using drone-like propellers to fly. It's capable of speeds of up to 124 miles per hour. Wait until you hit that redwood head on.
Yep. Oh, yeah. They released video of it on May 4th, and I saw it, and I was so excited. And which you just brought up the whole collision with the tree, right?
Yeah.
The name of their company is literally an old Nordic rune symbol for Odin that you would put on as an Odinist to declare your death to be done in a violent fashion. How appropriate.
Yeah, boy. Can't wait to hit that tree. The air bike uses jet propulsion and can seat one rider. So no backsies, no bucks. A proprietary stabilization system makes it possible for the bike to stay aloft and enables the rider to control their flight with relative ease. By the way, yes, there is. I have the Volanaut air bike video here, so we'll post it so people can watch it. The firm also maintains that it is also comfortable for the rider, or that the rider will become one with the bike. So you just jump on it. Of course, even though it uses, that's official on audio. If you couldn't see me do it, I went in my seat. Of course, it was pretty cool. Of course, given that it uses jet propulsion, noise is likely to be a factor, as is fuel. Even so, it's not hard to imagine people all over the world flying something like this in the future. Details of exactly when the air bike will be available to buy and how much it will cost will be revealed soon. Again, we've got footage of it. We'll post it in this description of this program so you can watch the video of the air bike and how exactly it works, just like Travis has already seen. So there you go. All right.
I'm excited to see biker gangs get on those things.
And crash them on the highway. Somehow I don't think your cuts are going to keep you protected when you crash those suckers on the highway. You're going to have to wear something more than leather. All right. I had teased earlier that the Large Hadron Collider has perfected alchemy, at least for 1 second. It turned lead to gold.
It's more impressive than most people throughout history that have attempted it. So
that's right. The giant atom smasher has achieved something that for hundreds of years alchemists could only dream of. For centuries, alchemists around the world were obsessed with the practice of turning lead into gold, an achievement that they hoped would make them rich beyond their wildest dreams. Now it turns out that modern science has actually figured out how to achieve exactly that, albeit in a way that is unlikely to make anyone wealthy anytime soon. According to the findings of a new study, between 2015 and 2018, the Large Hadron Collider, the world's largest particle accelerator, created 86 billion gold nuclei while running experiments that saw lead atoms being smashed together at 99.999993% the speed of light.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, this might sound like a lot of gold. It amounts to a mere 29 trillionths of a gram. You ain't getting rich that way. Not only that, but it was then destroyed within a fraction of a second of being created. So, wah, wah.
And that's how the portal to hell opened up.
That's right. Then Satan came out and went, surprise! Ha ha ha! You're not getting rich! Ha ha ha! It is impressive to see that our detectors can handle head-on collisions, producing thousands of particles, while also being sensitive to collisions where only a few particles are produced at a time, enabling the study of rare electromagnetic nuclear transmutation processes, said Marco van Leeuwen, who is a spokesperson for ALICE, which is a large ion collider experiment. And then he laughed maniacally and did this with his fingers. And,
The Mr. Burns, yes.
now, while this might not sound like, oh, I read that already. I'm just reminiscing about lead into gold and thinking, ooh, they could be so rich up there, but they're not.
And you would think that if you actually got to the point where you could turn lead into gold, yeah, you'd be rich right away, but then all of that gold would lose its value. You know, when you start turning every piece of garbage to gold, then the gold is so inflated that it loses its value.
Right. Yeah.
Chasing the dream.
Chasing the dream. That's right. Chasing the dream. All right. We're coming down to the last few stories here on Supernatural News today. I tell you what, this next story, some people feel a certain type of way about snakes. Other people are like, oh, snakes, cute. One man doesn't think they're so cute. One man was bitten by snakes 200 times, but in the process, helped create an unparalleled antivenom. You ready for this?
Okay.
Travis? Yeah. Sometimes we got to suffer in order. We have to suffer for our art in order to help create something better. Tim Freed has not only been bitten by snakes 200 times, but also has been injected with venom over 700 times. Being bitten by a snake can prove incredibly serious, as evidenced by the 140,000 deaths a year caused by snake bites, and the countless other victims who have ended up with permanent disabilities. Hoping to build up an immunity to snake bites while handling serpents, Tim Freed, a former truck mechanic, began allowing himself to be bitten on purpose, initially making the most fatal error of being bitten twice by a cobra in quick succession, which is a mistake that left him in a coma. He quickly learned how to endure bites without suffering ill effects. Now, 18 years on, he's been bitten by snakes over 200 times and has also injected himself with more than 700 doses of venom prepared from the poison of various different snakes. Incredibly, this has all meant that he now has a rather unique tolerance to snake bites. When Dr. Jacob Glanville, who is chief executive of the biotech company Centivax, heard about this, he was keen to have Freed come in and help his team develop a new type of antivenom. Immediately, I was like, if anybody in the world has developed these broadly neutralizing antibodies, it's going to be him. So I reached out, he said. The first call, I was like, this might be awkward, but I'd love to get my hands on some of your blood. The resulting antivenom reportedly offers unparalleled protection against a wide range of snake bites and could go on to save countless lives. Freed had even built up a protection against the venom of snakes for which there is no current standard antivenom treatment.
Wild.
Isn't that something? Tim's antibodies are really quite extraordinary. He taught us that the immune system, to get this very, very broad recognition, is something else, said Professor Peter Kwong of Columbia University.
And that's how they developed the next Ozempic.
That's right. Find the skinniest person on the planet and take their shit.
Did you see those reports going out about they figured out what the formula for Ozempic and all those things are?
No.
And when it comes from? No. It's Gila monster venom.
Oh yeah. Oh, Now see, I knew that years ago because one of the first diabetic drugs was taken from the spit of a Gila monster. I knew that years ago.
Wild. Yeah. I just found that out recently. And I'm like,
you didn't know
people
that?
are injecting themselves purposely with venom just to get skinny. And I'm like, this is crazy.
That's why paralysis of the stomach happens. You know that?
Kidding.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, that's new to me.
No. That's old information, my friend. Yeah.
I guess I should have taken a closer look at those tablets.
I see Ozempic and Mounjaro and all these GLP-1 and GLP-2 drugs are cousins of, I'm trying to think of the different drugs I've been on that have led up to this. But I've been taking these injectables and the cousins of these injectables for 20 years.
Wild.
And they're all diabetic drugs, but they're meant to control blood sugar. And they're complementary to insulin. And the way they first discovered this is they discovered this by studying reptiles, and the fact that reptiles had a consistent blood sugar all day long, no matter what they ate. See, reptiles will take and eat a mouse, and a mouse is a large form of animal to consume. That should drop their blood sugar, or I'm sorry, it should raise their blood sugar very high when they consume it, but it doesn't. Their pancreas allows them to distribute insulin on an even level so that their blood sugar never goes up, never goes down.
Crazy.
Yeah. So they were studying reptiles to discover what it is that allows them to maintain a steady blood sugar. And they discovered it was something in their saliva that allows them to break down this enzyme. It allows them to break down when they're consuming an animal, that allows the sugars to be, yeah. And it's something
that is impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now you just impressed me too. Here's your honorary PhD in like reptile spit.
Yeah.
I love it.
So they discovered, you know what, if we take this enzyme out of reptile spit and inject it into humans, keep in mind that it's a compound. They don't take it directly from the reptile, but they take this enzyme, this compound. We can somewhat safely, inject it into humans, and we found out that it stabilizes their blood sugar. So that's the first thing that it does. The second benefit is that it allows you to lose weight, because your blood sugar doesn't rise and fall. When your blood sugar rises, you add adipose tissue or fat. If your blood sugar doesn't rise, you don't get that signal for your body to pack on weight.
I haven't fit in my prom dress in a long time. So let's see, PetSmart, Gila Monster.
But I'm trying to think of the other drugs I was on that Victoza is the other one, that the last one I was on that was made of that same, and what was the one before that? But they're all the same enzyme. It's just different strengths.
No kidding.
Yeah, and they keep upping the dosage of that enzyme, but they all contain that same enzyme.
That is wild. Yeah, I never knew that before.
Yeah,
like I just stumbled on that like a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, people are seriously injecting themselves with Gila Monster venom. But man, you broke it down. It works. So.
But when you hear that some people are suffering stomach paralysis from it, there's a reason, and that's because that enzyme is higher in concentration, and it is paralyzing some people's stomachs because they can't handle the concentration of that venom.
But if they mix it with this other tin guy's blood,
well, then it doesn't work. Then you just get fat.
Hold on, did I just get jamais vu?
Yeah, you got jamais vu. Yeah.
I got jamais vu.
Jamais vu. Jamais vu. All right, we got one story left today. And speaking of getting fat, by the way, go out and get your lizard spit and then go get yourself a Mountain Dew and try to predict one of 4 deadly U.S. disasters.
Ooh.
Yeah, evidently Mountain Dew has become the new Nostradamus. This is your palate cleanser for today. Not only can you rot your teeth out, but you can also tell people how they're going to die. A wild conspiracy theory has emerged from the depths of the internet, claiming that new Mountain Dew flavors have foretold deadly disasters across the U.S. The unusual claim comes from content creator Maverick Bailey, or at Maverick Approach on Instagram, who's known for his unconventional takes, and believes that major events have strangely coincided with the launch of certain Mountain Dew flavors. You took a swing at Baja Blast. Let's see if that's one of them.
Did.
It seems that every time they make a big push with a new flavor, it correlates with a certain event, Bailey said during a recent interview. He pointed out that Star Spangled Splash was released in 2024, shortly before the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge.
Ooh.
Its patriotic name eerily echoing its national symbolism of the event. Similarly, hit shelves just 3 months before 9/11, with theorists drawing a connection between the flavor's name and the emergency alert status that followed the attacks. Now, Bailey also connected other flavors to the Maui wildfires and the global CrowdStrike blackout that crippled millions of Windows devices last year. Now he's sounding the alarm over Mountain Dew's upcoming flavor, Baja Midnight, which is set to launch this summer.
Interesting.
Right? This new flavor could be referring to the witching hour, which is at midnight, Bailey shared in an Instagram video. He says, "My guess is that we're going to see something very weird on a paranormal level, or something that is going to make us question everything." He added that it could even signal a devastating cyber blackout. I like the way this kid thinks.
It's a witch's secret, my friend.
Mountain Dew has weighed in, commenting on Bailey's Instagram video discussing the wild theory, saying, "Keep your voice down."
Oh, I love it.
Well, Mountain Dew has made a joke about the theory. There's no evidence to support any of Bailey's claims. Bailey shared his latest update on the Maverick files, where he outlined connections he's drawn between Mountain Dew flavors and major disasters. He pointed out to Code Red that launched in May of 2001, just months before the 9/11 attacks, an event widely referred to as a Code Red emergency. So yes, Mountain Dew caused 9/11.
I love it.
In 2019, Mountain Dew introduced Maui Burst, which is a pineapple-flavored soda. Bailey claims it foreshadowed the 2023 wildfires that devastated Maui. That's a stretch. So 4 years before...
Yeah, and what about like the Australian fires? Huh? Yeah, what do they have, a kangaroo flavored Mountain Dew? I haven't seen a kangaroo or a wallaby flavored.
A Facebook user shared an image of showing a can of Maui Blast with the caption, "No such thing as a coincidence." That was 4 years between Maui Blast and the Maui wildfires. Come on. It's not predictive programming, he said. It's a script. They know it, write it, and implement it. Come on, kids.
I love it. I love it.
On August 8th of 2023, of course, high winds and dry weather caused wildfires to develop in Lahaina, Upper Kula, Upper Makawao, and Olinda on the island of Maui. Now, these wildfires affected approximately 1,550 parcels, 2,200 structures, were one of the deadliest wildfires in the U.S. in at least the past 100 years. And at least 201 people were confirmed dead as a result. But again, 4 years passed. 4 years, Travis.
Well, and what about their live wire? Huh? Did Livewire electrocute everybody in like the East Coast or something? Like what happened there?
Yes, huh? Yes. It was the biggest electrical fire in the history of the U.S. Now, let me see. Did he do a different one? He got, let's see, on March 26th. Okay. Oh, no. Okay. So it was only 2024 Star Spangled Splash and the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Maui. Did he do another one? Let's see.
Well, he had his Code Red 9/11.
Red 9/11. I think those are the three. I don't think he's...
So he's shooting the same kind of average as Alex Jones, you know?
Yeah.
3 out of 10, you know?
And he's saying this new midnight one may be a cyber attack.
You know, what did we ended up see? Well, when does it release?
This summer, I think. Let's see. Let me look back at the story here. But I think it is this end of this summer is when the new one releases.
Okay, so they were doing a pre-game tryout then with their new product out in France, and
Baja Midnight is set to launch this summer. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there was 2 European countries that had like total blackouts for a few days recently.
Yes.
Yeah, so they were just doing like an early product placement out there and just like testing it out.
Yeah.
Because like the world news, like it was like 2-3 days where they're like, the country is still without power, blah, blah, blah. Nobody knows why. I assume they have power now and still nobody knows why. It was Mountain Dew's fault.
Yeah, it's Mountain Dew's fault. They were product testing in Europe.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Mountain Dew is like, keep your mouth shut.
That is the greatest response ever. Like I always love it on social media when these companies get all spicy with people too.
Yeah.
You know, where like Wendy's will be on the
classic.
X. Yeah. And some Karens on there like, I'll never be at Wendy's again, but and they're like STFU, Karen. You know, like, we didn't. You know?
We got your nuggets right here. Yeah. Wendy's is classic with those responses. They're the best. They really are. Well, Mountain Dew, we tip our caps to you for keeping the conspiracy theorists all in arms. Yep. And keeping them on edge.
I love it. I'm going to go back to drinking soda as soon as Baja Midnight comes about.
Sipping one as the lights go out.
Yes.
I'll be
just
there,
drinking the chaos.
Drinking the chaos. Hey, that ought to be their slogan.
Yes.
Baja Midnight, drinking the chaos.
Or what was the guy's name again? Maybe at the bottom it just says shut the hell up, whatever his name is.
Bailey. His name's Bailey.
Yeah, shut up, Bailey.
Yeah. Boy, he's got videos out there too about the witching hour. He's like, this shit's crazy, man. He's all serious too. Let me show you his face. He's all, man, let me tell you something, man. he's serious. He's into it. He's the kind of guy that I want around a campfire to tell me that I don't know the secrets of masonry because I'm not high enough yet while he's never been there. Yeah. But he knows. Yeah. He's like, oh, I love those conversations. He's like, Mountain Dew predicts disasters and Coca-Cola is great to douche with. Let me tell you. Yeah, he's got all kinds of theories, and he's like,
and you see when Taco Bell partnered up with Mountain Dew for Baja Blast, that means Taco Bell is behind the conspiracy. See, they're moving it because tacos in Mexico and the Mexican cartels, that's what's going on.
See, Taco Bell is behind the drug war. Yeah. Like, what? See, because you can move a lot of weed in a Mexican pizza.
Yeah, and you know their symbol is a bell. It's the Taco Bell, all right? And so the bell is ringing in the destruction of man along with Mountain Dew, just like the mountain of Hermon or the mountain where Moses received the word from God. And see, when the lightning came down.
Wow, it's getting deep in here. All right, I think it's time to wrap this up. Woo, it's getting deep in here. All right. So that'll do it for today, folks. That's Supernatural News. Tomorrow on the big program, Tamari. Boy, have we got a good show. Not that today hasn't been good. I mean, today's been a good show as well. But tomorrow on the big show, Paul Wild will be with us, Travis. Remember I told you I had a pretty big show planned for tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to take an unexpected turn. Remember early in the program, we were talking about John Lennon? We were talking about his belief in aliens. What if I told you, my friend, that there's another rocker out there that had a totally unexpected past.
Surprise, surprise.
Jesus, way to be anticlimactic on that deal. Surprise, surprise.
Let me guess, he was in league with the devil.
Oh, Christ. Thanks for blowing my intro to this. Appreciate it. Good God. Well, now that we've blown this to shit, Paul Wild is with us tomorrow. He's got a brand new book out there called Jim Morrison, Secret Teacher of the Occult.
Bum, bum, bum.
Oh, God damn it.
Well, look, the occult doesn't always associate devil. You know?
The book is called Secret Teacher of the Occult, A Journey to the Other Side. It details how Jim Morrison may have actually taught the occult through the lyrics of the Doors music.
Scary.
You've all been indoctrinated, folks.
You all thought it was Ozzy Osbourne this whole time.
God damn it.
Tim's like, never again, Travis. Never again. Oh.
One of the lyrics that that's quoted on Paul's website is, "I love the friends I have gathered together on this thin raft. We have constructed pyramids in honor of our escaping. This is the land where the Pharaoh died." He'll explain that and many others when we get together tomorrow. How Jim Morrison's secret teacher broke on through to higher consciousness, and how some of his lyrics talk about things other than what you might have expected. It's tomorrow on the big program. Oh, Jesus Christ, Travis. Come on. I'm trying to cut a serious promo here.
Straight face.
Having some of that jamais vu here, I think. You're not doing Paul Wild a service, I'll tell you that much. Okay, so it's actually pretty interesting. He talks about Western esoteric tradition, his insatiable quest for knowledge, some of the books he read, including The Outsider by Colin Wilson, The History of Magic.
These are all things I find fascinating.
See? So we'll talk about it tomorrow on the big program. I'm just not inviting you to co-host when I have Paul in here. Because otherwise it turns into ha-ha laughy hour.
I'm sorry I'm so charismatic, Tim.
All right. I want to thank Travis Thorpe for being here today. Thank you, Travis.
You're welcome.
All right. We'll see you tomorrow for Paul Wild and Jim Morrison, Secret Teacher of the Occult, right here on the Best in Paranormal Podcasting. This is Darkness Radio.